Of the day.
Ballot item number 3, Order M4, second reading of Bill 4, an act to amend the Pesticides Act. Ms. Thompson.
Member from Huron-Bruce.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And it's a great privilege to stand in the House today in the Ontario Legislature and present the debate, or kick off the debate, I'll say, on a very important issue that has struck all of Ontario. And it's Bill 4, an act to amend the Pesticides Act, or it's better known, as I worked with stakeholders across this province, as Support Agricultural Experts in Their Field Act. And
no. Okay. We have to move to second reading of the bill. Okay. So, all right. So Ms. Thompson has moved second. You have moved.
okay. So what do I do? What do I do? Act to amend the Pesticides Act. Sorry.
Thompson has moved second reading of Bill 4, an act to amend the Pesticide Act pursuant to Standing Order 98. The member has 12 minutes for her presentation.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I really appreciate that. I'm so gung-ho to get started on this particular debate because it's something that's near and dear to all of us. It's with regards to Ontario's food production. And as I mentioned in the introduction, it's Bill 4, an act to amend the Pesticides Act. It's better known to stakeholders I've met with as Supporting Agricultural Experts in Their Field Act. And before I really get started into the debate, I want to recognize the numerous stakeholders that I've spoke with. And I truly appreciate their time and their constructive feedback. I spoke to Beekeepers Association of Ontario, OABA, the Ontario Agribusiness Association, Ontario Soil and Crop Improvement Association, CCAs, Ontario Institute of Agrologists, Federation of Agriculture, Grain Farmers of Ontario, Christian farmers, and numerous county federations of agriculture, as well as soil and crop members. And I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize that we played phone tag with the Ecological Farmers of Ontario, but I truly hope I can get speaking to Ali in the near future. And in addition to all of those organizations and stakeholders, I want to give a special shout out to a few more people. First of all, Susan Fitzgerald of the Certified Crop Advisors, as well as her Claire Kinlan. They have been a tremendous help in helping drill down and speak specifically to how we can make regulations work. And I'll get to that in a second, Madam Speaker. In addition to that, I'd like to recognize and welcome to the House Don McCabe, President of the Ontario Federation of Agriculture. Thank you very much for coming down on a Thursday afternoon. You and I go way back, and I really appreciate your commitment to Ontario agriculture, your sage advice, and your dogged determination to make sure we get legislation right so Ontario farmers can be the best they can be. Thank you for being here today. And secondly, I'd like to introduce to the House Dave Ferguson. Dave has made the trek as well from Lambton County. He is involved with the local Lambton County president of the Lambton County Federation of Agriculture. And Dave is an example of the amazing stewards we have across this province. And when I say stewards, I mean stewards of the land. Dave recognizes the importance of creating pollinator habitat, and some of the members in this House this afternoon had a chance to meet him earlier today at lunch. He very proudly, and I know I'm not supposed to have props, but he very proudly shows what he's doing on his farm, how he's taking acres out of production in order to facilitate and foster proper pollinator habitats. And I congratulate him for that. And he and his wife, Gabrielle, who is very much an important pillar in the agricultural industry as well. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say, though, there should be a social responsibility that the entire province of Ontario holds when we have farmers willing to go the distance to create habitats such as for pollinators. And I thank you for all you do. You lead by example. So with that, I'd like to get started by saying I want to be very clear in this debate, and it's important to recognize and celebrate the fact that in this particular issue that we're addressing today, with regards to pollinator health and moving forward to ensure our farmers can be as productive as possible. It's important that we recognize the agri-food sector as a whole has taken great strides to not only understand the issues and the hard winters and the compounding elements that contributed to a low bee population a couple of years ago. They understand the issue, they've done the research, they've created a pollinator health plan, and they've educated farmers on how they can be the best stewards of the land. Collectively, the industry has moved forward, truly making the current regulations that are on the books unnecessary. But, Madam Speaker, given that the regulations are now in place, I want to be perfectly clear with everyone in the House today that I did not introduce Bill 4 with the intention to challenge the restricted use that has been placed on neonicotinoids, but rather to take steps in making a difficult situation more workable for the men and women of our agri-food industry. As you may be aware, beginning on August 31st, 2017, subsection 8.2, Section 8 of Ontario Regulation 63/09 will be amended to prohibit any professional pest advisor that, and I quote, derives a financial benefit from a person who manufactures or sells a Class 12 pesticide or a pesticide that is used to treat a seed to that it becomes a Class 12 pesticide from performing a pest assessment. And we'll get into what that really means a little bit later, but for us who know what that means, the reason for this change, Speaker, deeply concerns me. Throughout the consultation process that I undertook over the last couple of months, it was suggested that the change to the regulations is being enacted based on an unfounded notion that professional pest advisors who work for a seed and or crop input company will automatically want to sell the treated seed because it costs more. Well, guess what, Speaker? A treated bag of seed adds no more than approximately $3 a bag in price, and in some instances, it's as low as 80 cents. Hardly the financial windfall for anyone looking to make a big profit. In fact, the Alberta Federation of Agriculture wrote of their findings on this matter, saying, and I quote, "This regulation will seriously curtail pest advisor services currently provided by CCAs employed by the private sector to crop producers based solely on implied pecuniary or a conflict of interest directly related to the distribution of Class 12 pesticides." Interestingly, this implied change or charge of pecuniary or conflict of interest has not been demonstrated nor recognized to be of similar concern with respect to other competing crop input products. In principle, Speaker, Ontario Regulation 139/15 implies the existence of moral hazard where evidence of such behaviour has not been demonstrated. And you know, it's interesting because the Ontario Federation has also flagged this with the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change directly. And in their letter to me of September 15th, Don McCabe wrote, "Many engineers, accountants, dentists, lawyers, and other certified professionals provide advice to clients, despite being employed or affiliated with a larger firm." So, Speaker, why does this government feel limitations need to be applied to one particular body of professionals and one that never has had a documented case of conflict to boot? You know, that question really has to be asked here. And if this is indeed the basis for such a change, it's disappointing and highly unfounded. In fact, Speaker, just yesterday, the Minister of Agriculture said in his response to my question on the matter that his own government is reviewing the workability of these particular regulations in question. And while I appreciate that very much, but it says to me that you realize there's a problem and you need to look into it a little bit more. And so I'm glad we're doing it collectively today during the debate. There are two more important factors as to why this action is this particular regulation and action limiting professional pest advisors is detrimental to the soybean and corn producers of Ontario. First of all, the changes to the definition of a professional pest advisor will have negative implications for farmers. Farmers will be forced to end the effective professional partnerships they've established for perhaps dozens of years, with the experts who understand their unique crop needs, soil types, field conditions and growing seasons like anybody else. As the Niagara South Federation of Agriculture points out in their letter of support, many farmers work closely with CCAs at their local supplier or with the seed companies of their choice, and they develop a trusting working relationship with them. It is likely that farmers will want to continue to work with CCACs that they know and trust. The Essex County Federation of Agriculture also shared the concerns with me, saying farmers establish a familiarity and working relationship with their CCA over time. Legislating who they work with is truly unnecessary. Limiting employment opportunities of the already few certified crop advisors would just be another burden of regulations on an agricultural industry as a whole. Speaker, Bill 4 seeks to allow these relationships to continue to flourish, and it should be a shame if the politics in here cause them to die out in the field. Secondly, according to the Ontario Certified Crop Advisor Association and the Ontario Institute of Agrologists, as of December 15, there were 538 crop advisors, or CCAs, and 30 professional agrologists, or PAGs, licensed and willing to conduct pesticide assessments in Ontario. However, with the implementation in this particular reg of this particular exclusionary clause, the number of professional pest advisors throughout Ontario will be reduced to only 80 qualified advisors. And for reference, I would be nervous in the north because that leaves just 2 professional pest advisors to serve all of Ontario. And that's a shame, Speaker, and it should not be allowed. In fact, on September 11th, I received a letter from the Glengarry Federation of Agriculture with concerns about the reduction of PPAs this change would bring about. And they said, as far as we have been able to determine, there are all of 4 individuals that would meet the criteria that is set out in the current regulation. Furthermore, it's been disclosed to our Federation that at least 2 out of the 4, for their own personal reasons, will not be conducting pest assessments for area producers. The regulations are not working, Speaker. Bill 4 is a sincere attempt to make them workable. And I want to go on and reflect a little bit more about what farmers in Eastern Ontario are saying. And they've been very clear in letting me know that Eastern Ontario farmers will be at an even greater disadvantage than farmers in the rest of the province. And I have to share with you that Bill 4 also addresses the need to let summer students conduct assessments independent of their employer. And we also need to recognize that the assessments as they're defined today the methodology doesn't make sense. We should just meet and use already existing OMAFRA standards in the Field Crop Protection Guide. Thank you very much.
Thank you.